At it again, and I've got a very interesting video for you guys today. There's two parts of this that I want to show you, and then also I have something else to show you guys, so stick around. It's probably going to be a longer video, so grab a snack and a drink of your choice, kick back and relax. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you are new. Also, if you would like to help me out even further with the YouTube algorithm too, especially with something like this, watch this video to the very end. It helps out tremendously to get these videos out to more and more folks, and that's ultimately what we want to do to spread the message, all right? Because I feel like it's definitely an important message, especially this video that we're about to dive into. So with that being said, let's dive in.
Right into it. Why are you running for president?
Well, I'm running as
I guess I should let everyone know. So this is the Breakfast Club. This is a famous leftist black, radio show, right? Where a bunch of Democrats go on and watch, especially black folks. So, but listen to what Larry Elder says to a lot of these answers here.
an America First mega guy, and we have an America First mega guy running, obviously. So the question is, what do you bring to the table?
You said MAGA?
MAGA.
Okay.
And the answer is, I bring a lot of issues to the table that I feel our side is not talking enough about, if at all. For example, the #1 social problem in America, by far, is the epidemic not of COVID, but of fatherlessness.
Larry Elder always bring it.
70% of black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother. And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. What's happened? In the mid-'60s, with I think the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility. When I say this to people, the pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young black man in that demo is 13 times more likely to
He's
be
how
murdered
old?
than a young
Hold on, wait a minute.
21 years old. Look at a young black male aged 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old. A young black man in that
Larry Elder is 71? I never would have guessed. 71. That's incredible. That is incredible. Now I'm gonna try not to talk a whole lot. So if you see me just quiet, it's because I know this is gonna be a longer video. So I don't want to make this an hour-long clip. But yeah, of course I'm gonna chime in, but I'm gonna try to make it short when I do.
The demo is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young black man, real young, 19 and under, the #1 cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young black male. Same demo for whites, the #1 cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drownings. It's not until they get to #4 that death is the cause. In America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by black people, often against other black people. Of the homicides in this country, half of them are black victims, almost all killed by other blacks. How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism, this is before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of '64, KKK was still alive and well, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state, and our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms who are heroically raising these kids, or you'll be accused of being a racist, or if you're black, you'll be accused, as I was by the LA Times, of being the black face of white supremacy. Nobody's talking about that. I am.
What are the reasons, if your statistics are right, what are the reasons that you think fathers aren't in the home?
As I said, it's
He said
because in the mid-'60s, Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. In Charlemagne, literally, they sent social workers door to door in the inner city. I remember this, advising women of the availability of welfare provided there was no man in the house. It created an economic incentive for women to marry the government. Same thing with whites. In 1965, 8% of whites entered the world without a father in the home married to the mother. Now it's about 25%, also up threefold. Look at census data, 1910, 1920, 1930, in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia, a young black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home married to the mother than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the black community.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong, Larry Elder?
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about...
Now this is one of the first times I have to chime in because it's so sad. It's so sad to watch these folks try to point the finger somewhere else. It's almost like, you know, the proverbial black people's house is on fire, and Larry Elder sitting here with the water hose trying to put it out, and he's yelling, and Larry Elder screaming like, "Yo, everybody come help! This house is on fire!" And Charlemagne walks up the block and he says, "Hey, look at that White House over there. I think something may be over there." When he's standing in front of a house that's completely on fire. That makes zero sense to me. Why can't we just focus on the black issues? I know exactly why, but I'm going to continue on.
About what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in
What's
this
going
country,
on?
which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe there's
No,
systemic
there used to
racism?
be, obviously.
Facts.
Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just give me the most important one you think.
At the top of mind, I'd probably maybe say mass incarceration. Maybe.
Really? During the Great Depression, when 50% of black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's the breakdown of the family. There's a direct.
I'm not going to. I agree with the family part. I'm a black man who is a father to his children, and I'm
Right.
a happily married
Right.
black man to a black woman. So I'm never going to argue with that part. You know, but I just feel like everything is black with you. Black is wrong. Black people do this and black people do that. And when I ask you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about white people at all.
I'm talking.
Why does it matter? Why do white people matter in the equation? He's trying to address the black people issues, the black issues. Why are you trying to point the finger over there? See, and that's the problem with some of these folks. But it gets really good, guys. Let's continue watching.
About the damage, disproportionate damage going on in the black community. For example, look at these smash and grabs that are taking place in Los Angeles, where I live. There's a suburb called Glendale, where at a mall recently, a mob of 30 to 40 people, they had masks on, but one guy got popped. He was black, and I think most of those who were doing this were black. And in recent years and times, there have been a number of these in places like Chicago, places like New York. If I were involved in something like that, Charlemagne, I grew up with a dad, just as you're raising your own children. I would have been more afraid of my father than I would about the cops catching me. These kids are afraid of neither. They don't have a father in the home. Cops are demoralized. They're pulling back. Their manpower is short. And as a result, you tell a bad guy you're less likely to be caught, convicted, incarcerated, crime goes up. They may be criminals, but they're not stupid. When you say, what do white people do? I mean, this is a country that has struggled mightily to get over its historic racism. There was a civil war. There was a big civil rights movement. This is the only majority white country that's ever elected a black president, let alone reelected a black president. The three biggest cities in America are New York, Chicago, LA. They all have black mayors, even though no city has a majority of black population. The president of Harvard is a black female. Martin Luther King in 1966, Charlemagne, gave an interview to the BBC. This is 2 years after the Civil Rights Act of '64 got passed. And he said, "I'm amazed at how many positive changes there have been in America in the last 2 years. Why, if things keep going like this, we could have a black president in about 40 years' time. Do the math. Right on cue, Barack Obama elected 2008. He didn't say there'll be a black female president of Harvard, and there has been. He didn't say there are going to be black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and there have been several. He didn't say the percentage of the House would equal the percentage of black people in the population, and it does. He didn't say the three largest cities would have black mayors, and they do. He didn't say the largest and most prestigious organization of doctors, the American Medical Association, would have two black presidents, and there have been. He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association would have 2 black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated the day before. And now we act as if Barack Obama never even got elected. And we're still talking about systemic racism. It's not fair, it's wrong, and you're discouraging black people from working hard.
Bingo. Y'all know I've said that plenty of times. I hate when people push this narrative of, oh, the white man and the systemic and the system, because you're discouraging other black folks, other black kids from actually working hard, because they hear that message and they're like, well, if I work hard, the proverbial white man is going to come take it away from me. So what's the point? Why don't I just go out here, rob, loot, and steal? Like, it's so damaging. It honestly pisses me off, right? I mean, this stuff. Oh man.
1990s.
Okay. Mr.
Y'all gotta hear this chick. Oh my goodness.
Elder, quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation.
Hold on, let me move my head so y'all can see who's speaking.
Remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system.
Okay.
You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the black family, should certainly has some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
Room for
you said
improvement?
That the system. Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question.
Of course.
So the question is, you said that the system encouraged black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in
Okay.
charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system?
Well, it was Democrats that passed it.
And who were Democrats? Were they black or white at that time?
Well, at the time, majority of black people were Democrats, as the majority of black people are Democrats now.
Not the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time, the system. I'm just going to Charlamagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions. And if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
Right, and what I'm asking was, it white people, so I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. Was it white people in charge of the system or black people in charge of that system that helped break down the black family? It's a simple yes, just a simple question, white or black?
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by the left.
Correct? Okay. Democrats,
most black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people
Not
too.
voters. I said who's in charge of the system.
Well, who put them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson white or black?
Who put them in charge?
Maybe that'll help you.
Fine. Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't understand her point. Larry Elder made a much better point. So if your point is, oh, these white people did such terrible things, well, then why though? Almost cursed. Because this is so annoying. Why did you vote for them? And why do you continue to vote for them? If they're such terrible people, then why did you vote for them? Why'd you vote for a white man to be in office right now? Since the white people are so terrible and they they control the system and destroy black people, why did you vote for them? I just want to know. Answer that question. How about that? Jeez,
but if your argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism, then I disagree. He did it because of
That's not my argument. I just asked you a simple question. Was he white or black? Charlamagne?
And Mr. Elder, you said you talked about the smash and grabs, right? And I find that interesting because when you see the mass shootings that happen, majority of those people are white males. What do you think about that?
Actually, if you look at the percentage of whites in America, which is 60%, the percentage of mass shooters is under that. The percentage of people that commit hate crime is under that. The percentage of people who are serial killers is under that. Black people are 13% of the population. We commit a greater percentage compared to that
But no,
of
you
mass
specifically
shootings.
talked about the smash and grabs, though. So I was saying, since you're using that as an example, I'm saying, well, what about the mass shooters that are usually white males?
One more time. They are usually white males because 60% of the country is white. However, they underrepresent in terms of the number of mass shootings. about 50% or so of the mass shootings in this country are committed by white people, even though white people are 60% of the population. They underrepresent. We overrepresent when it comes to hate crime, when it comes to mass shootings, when it comes to serial killings, when it comes to robberies, when it comes to virtually every category of violent crime. We overrepresent.
So what do white people do wrong? I'm gonna keep asking
Look, here he goes back to white people.
you that because I want.
Well,
like,
it seems to me, rather than deal with what's going on, the pathology that's going on in the inner city, you want me to talk about how bad white people are,
No,
which I don't think is a particularly productive thing to do.
Well, I think
I'm talking.
there's a cause and effect, but if we can't talk about the cause, which I believe is systemic racism and white supremacy, the FBI says.
Well, I just told you, if it's systemic racism, please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism in 1940. 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. Again, this is during Jim Crow era. My father is from Athens, Georgia, grew up in Jim Crow. My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama, grew up in Jim Crow. 87% of blacks live below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education. You did not find these kind of black on black crime.
Probably because we had no
But
choice.
they still were living
ourselves.
below the poverty line, though, sir.
I'm sorry?
You're forgetting the fact that they were still living below the poverty line. You're picking and choosing, saying this was good, but this was bad.
Okay.
The bottom line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward on
Well, let me.
system.
Can I?
Nah. Ain't no moving forward. He made a great point. And it is sad that it just went in one ear and out the other. It's like there's nothing in here. There's nothing in between. He disproved your statement. But of course, let's move forward. No. You gonna get this work.
Can I just address that? In 1940, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. That's a 40-point drop in 20 years. That's the greatest 20-year period of economic expansion for black people in the history of America. Again, well before Brown versus Board of Education, well before the KKK imploded, well before we had race-based preferences. Why? Because it was rare for a black kid to be raised in a family without a father in the home. A strong belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in patriotism, even as America wasn't applying these values to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlemagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family. The founders are self-described Marxists, trained Marxists. Marx wanted to dethrone God, was an atheist, and Marx did not believe in capitalism, let alone entrepreneurship. All the things that made black people still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives Matter.
All of those things have always been under attack by white supremacy. You can go back to things like whether it's the Tulsa race massacres. Like every time black people do create these systems that are our systems and we are the entrepreneurs, it seems like white supremacy finds a way to destroy it.
Every time, look, the Tulsa massacre, within about 5 years, that whole area was rebuilt. It was not even called the Black Wall Street until after it was rebuilt. And it was rebuilt, by the way, by black people without one dime of government money.
Yeah, but who destroyed it to begin with?
It was racists who destroyed it. No question about it. We've had race riots, but so.
Look, he keeps trying to go back to this. Oh my goodness.
So if Japanese,
So you do agree that there's racism? I'm just so confused.
I never even came close to saying. I never came close to saying there was no racism.
You just saying you don't think it's systemic racism?
Not anymore. Obviously, there was. We had something called slavery. We had something called Jim Crow.
That destroyed black. Hold on, sir. That was the system that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants, because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And then you go on to say that the system, the quote unquote system, is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on, do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir, and that's what's so confusing to me. You just said it wasn't racism. Now it is racism. When it was time to build it back, there was no racism.
I said it wasn't systemic racism. Let's talk about.
So what are you just hung up on the word system?
Can I just make this point, Charlemagne, please? Let's take Chinese Americans. Chinese Americans were the first ethnic group to be excluded with an Immigration Act in the late 1800s. They had riots against Chinese in L.A., in San Francisco. There were laws that prevented Chinese Americans from participating in the laundry business. I'm in California. California, of course, rounded up Japanese Americans during World War II. There were laws that prevented Japanese Americans from owning farmland. The average Japanese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. The average Chinese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. How does that happen? It happens because of a strong belief in family. It is rare for a Chinese American or a Japanese American kid to have a child outside of wedlock, and a strong belief in education and a strong belief in entrepreneurship. These are the kinds of qualities that make people successful.
You can't
Bingo. Goodness gracious. Well, I got another part of this interview that I want to discuss with you guys. We're gonna jump straight into it because I know this is gonna be a longer video. Let's dive straight in.
I know you probably got to go. Have you ever heard of the term wake up call?
No.
I'm gonna have to bleep that word out, but he said the N word, blank blank a, wake up call. Okay. He's gonna explain what it means here.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever had?
Listen to Larry Elder's response. It is absolutely incredible. Check it out.
I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about a wake-up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney. Because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, for the record, I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
I don't know what
trash.
you are. I never even asked you about your party affiliation.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, but you are black.
Absolutely.
And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to say, think a certain kind of way, otherwise you, quote, ain't black. Wow.
How should I have replied to him, you think?
What I just now said, how dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black men walking around are really black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump? How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
Well, I did.
As I said to him in that moment,
You're probably
it's
right.
about me wanting something for my people, and I want to know what is he going to do for my people, and not only for my people now, how are you going to atone for the things you've done to my people?
Right.
That's it.
Right, and this is a guy, Joe Biden, who, when he first got into the Senate, hung out with segregationists, talked about how well he got along with them, talked about how he didn't want integration because of a jungle. This guy has made all sorts of insulting things to black people, and his policies right now are hurting black people. Inflation hurts the people at the bottom more than anything else. Letting a bunch of illegal aliens into the border are hurting black people more than anybody else, as I said earlier. He's opposes school choice when he has his own kids in private school, and we lost a year, almost 2 years of in-school education in California because of COVID that he supported. I mean, this guy has done monstrous things to black people, and then for him to come in here and tell you how you ought to think as a black person, it blew my mind.
As a person objectively who doesn't care about either party, when I just take a step back and I just look at everything that's happening, I see one party that seems still committed to democracy somewhat, and one party who's headed fast towards fascism.
Yeah, Democrats heading towards fascism and Republicans. First off, I should say it's not a democracy, it's a constitutional republic, but that's neither here nor there.
That's just my personal opinion. So who do you think I would vote for?
Well, let's
we go in that there because I know this video is long and there's something else that I want to get into as well with you guys when it pertains to this clip here. So let's jump into that and I'll talk some more. So here we go. I wanted to discuss the comment section of that video because it's very, very interesting and telling regarding what's actually happening and how people are actually feeling. So let's take a look at the comment section here. Let me make myself a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna toss me over here. All right. Actually, better yet, let's go up here. So first comment, top comment, says, we as black people need a shift in values. Everything starts at home. So exactly what Larry Elder was saying, right? People are listening. I have to say, as a Breakfast Club listener, Larry Elder has opened my mind. He is speaking facts. This is honestly the most educational interview I have seen at the Breakfast Club. Larry Elder is a real G for stating facts about the reality of the current state of black America. I love this. Black Americans have the most potential to be the most successful group of people in the country. The only thing holding them back is how toxic and misguided the culture is. Come on, people listening. This woman is I didn't even see this one. She's obvious, or whoever this is talking about the chick that chimed in via like Skype or whatever. The patience folks have with her is commendable. Wow, this lady is beyond words. I'm sure I don't agree with Charlemagne on plenty, but he knows how to let his guests speak. No system, no white man, no police officer will ever stop me from living a happy, successful life. A happy, successful life. Was great listening to Mr. Elder. Watching Larry Elder straight up embarrass that entire panel is true pleasure. As a black woman, I'm assuming there's a typo here. I'm starting to think this show just trolls everyone. No way everyone else is that ignorant. Larry is level-headed and smart. So these comments fire. I love the fact we can be accountable as black people versus falling to a victim mindset. Thanks, Larry Elder. Thank you, Mr. Elder, for focusing, for using facts against their feelings. Come on. And this is the thing. And this is what I'm talking about here. Like, every single day I'm seeing a shift. I'm seeing a change. And I was just having a conversation with someone the other day about this exact thing happening, and they were like, no, I don't see it, and it was based on the people that they're around a lot, and they're around a bunch of raving, flaming leftists. I mean, like, far left, extremely left folks. And I said, no, I highly disagree, because I've seen it. I've made videos on it, yada, yada, yada. And one of their responses was, well, that's why I think you think things are shifting. It's because of the type of content that you make and you check out on a daily basis. And I was like, I hear you. And you would have a great point. But I've talked to you guys about this. I intentionally take myself out of the proverbial echo chamber where people are just repeating back to me what I want to hear and what I like to hear. Joe Biden, we voted for Trump, yada, yada, yada. I intentionally take myself out of that to check the pulse of things. I tell you guys all the time, I intentionally follow big leftist accounts where I know a bunch of Democrats are going to be. And whenever anything political, something big happens, I always run to those accounts and read through the comment section to see what people are saying. And time again, I've seen more and more comments like the ones you just saw, and in others that I've spoken about in previous videos, of people truly changing their minds. And it's so good to see, even after all of these shenanigans that happened in this video. You can go check it out on The Breakfast Club if you want to watch the entire interview. But it's so great to see people seeing through the smokescreen and calling this BS out, right? They commended Larry Elder. They didn't call him the black face of white supremacy, or, oh, he's just a bootlicker and whatever else. You know what I mean? The whole charades. I've been called it too. I don't care. It makes zero sense. First off, calling me Uncle T makes zero sense if you know the actual story. But another thing is, I'm actually pushing for great things for black people, while those people that are calling me all types of names actually are pushing for terrible things. But y'all already know that already. So it was just good to see, this comment section really flipping on them, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And this is all in part due to you guys. You guys help share these videos. That's why I'm always telling you guys, hey, share these videos, share them, Share them, share them, share them, okay? Watch them to the very end. Hit the like button, leave a comment. All of that helps out with the YouTube algorithm. So even if you don't share it, it gets pushed up in the YouTube algorithm, so it gets displayed in front of more and more folks. And that's what we need to do to spread this great message, is to get these videos out to more and more folks. So even if you don't have anybody to share it to, like, leave a comment, all right, and watch to the very end. All three of those things helps out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm to tell YouTube to push this video out to more and more folks. And of course, you know, if you got people to send it to, share the video. It's the arrow button down below. Click it. It'll give you an option to copy the link. You can literally text it to people. Okay, you can post it on your Facebook, on your Instagram. I don't care. Post it wherever you like. But people need to hear this message, because we are truly making a difference out here. And it shows via that comment section right there. But thank you guys for watching until this point. I thank you for spending your precious time with me today. Peace and love, family. I'm out.